What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And I'm here to keep this thing short and sweet so I can get the news out to you guys. But the Detroit Lions, they've done it again. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to our video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, man, we are back with some breaking Detroit Lions free agency news. And there's part of me that honestly can't believe that this is actually happening, that this is actually set to happen. Now, I want to make this clear. This is not an official signing yet. From the reports that we have is that he plans to visit the Detroit Lions tonight, go through his physical, and then sign officially on Tuesday. So the plan is that he will sign after going through his physical, but I guess it's not technically official yet that he has actually signed. So let me make that clear. Things can always happen. Maybe this falls through, but for the most part, it seems like this player is going to be joining the Detroit Lions this upcoming season on a one-year deal, according to Adam Schefter. And as you read by the thumbnail and the title, that player is Kevin Zeitler. Bro, part of me doesn't even believe that this is actually happening. I read this and I'm like, this can't be happening, dog. First, DJ Reader, and I was like, I would love for it to happen, but for some reason I could just make a case that it won't happen. My goodness, the Lions made it happen. And now it's a similar situation with Kevin Zeitler. The whole time, it was like, this is the clear upgrade in free agency. Like, if there is a guy that's legitimately an upgrade at guard, it's Kevin Zeitler. But for whatever reason, which was mainly the fact that he really only plays right guard, and then we talked about this as well, and he brought up the fact that he signs a lot of fully guaranteed deals, and maybe the Lions would want to stay away from that. But when you hear the news that reportedly the Detroit Lions are going to get it done on a one-year deal, all of a sudden the fully guarantees are no longer concerning. It's like, well, okay, that's fine. I mean, he's going to start next season, so that's fine with me. Fully guarantee the heck out of a one-year deal. And it was kind of similar with DJ Reader. It was like a lot of people were projecting a 3-year deal, and I was like, I'd love a 2-year deal, but I guess we can make 3 years work. Lions got it done on a 2-year deal. And it's like, well, that works even better because now it lines up perfectly. So these two things that the Lions are reportedly making happen in terms of the length of these deals are unbelievable. But now to talk about the player. And if you guys have joined in any of our live streams where at any point in time we talked about guard, there was one guy that we constantly brought up as he's an upgrade. It's Kevin Zeitler. Hey, now, Zeitler is like a little bit of a different to me. He's to what you just said, Agent. He's on a different, and I'll put this up here because this is the news. He's on a different level. Like, Zeitler right now is a top-tier pass protector. He's played a lot of snaps recently, so even though he's old, 34 years old, he's continued to play a lot. He also probably wouldn't demand a multi-year deal. I think Zeitler would be an awesome guard. The downside is that he consistently mainly just plays at right guard. So if you feel comfortable with pushing Graham to left guard, then drafting someone that you feel like could eventually be the guy there, that would be awesome. I would be on board with that because I think Zeitler's an animal. Like, he's an animal, especially as a pass protector. You're getting a massive improvement there, and your pass protection on the offensive line would go way up. So I love that. I'm still on the Kevin Zeitler train. I think the years could make a ton of sense, especially if you're going to draft someone, especially once some of the interior offensive linemen began to get plucked in free agency. And it was like, okay, now those guys that could potentially be future, starters, the guy that could be future options at the interior offensive line, which may or may not be upgrades over Jonah Jackson, but they have the capability to, in my opinion. Once those guys started to get plucked, it was like, okay, now you're at the point now where it's like you can sign an interior offensive lineman, but you're probably signing a guy that you don't want as your future option. If he has to start, that's fine, but I don't even know if I want coming into the season to feel like, hey, this is my starter. The only guy that wasn't in that category was Kevin Zeitler, the 34-year-old offensive lineman. I know what you're thinking. Oh, my goodness, this guy's 34 years old. Really? Hold up. Don't think like that. This guy constantly plays 1,000 snaps essentially every single season, okay? At very minimum, he's playing 800 snaps. This guy is constantly on the field. That's really not a concern with Kevin Zeitler, regardless of the age. On top of that, from just an upgrade side of things, one thing that I did, and I made a list, coming into free agency. We did our free agency predictions on Bleacher Report. So one thing that I did for interior offensive line was I made my predictions. And my predictions were the Lions would re-sign Graham Glasgow, which they did, but also Jonah Jackson. And they didn't do that. Well, I didn't know that the price point was going to get as high as it did, and I wouldn't have signed him to that price point either. Also, on top of that, I don't feel like he's grown necessarily within the Lions offense where you feel like he's maybe going to take those steps to where it's really worth giving him that future contract, because we know as much as about what you did in the past, it's also about what we believe that you're going to become. And for a guy like Jonah Jackson, he really hasn't taken those steps within the Lions offense. He's been a very similar player every single season, which is fine. He's a solid interior offensive line, but at that price point, it was like, I could see why the Lions would stay away from that. But then you go to a guy like Kevin Zeitler, and the one graphic that I did put together, which was if the Lions wanted to make a full reset at guard, how would they do it? sign Kevin Zeitler. Now, the big issue that was always there was not only the years, but it was also the fact that he basically plays right guard. So now it's like, okay, well, do you now take Graham Glasgow, who did start a game, by the way, at left guard and played well this past season, and just put him at left guard? Do the Lions feel like they can make that work? Apparently they can, unless they're planning on moving Zeitler, which I completely doubt. This is going to test the flexibility of Graham Glasgow. But if they feel good about it, this is an incredible, this is not only an awesome option because it's the stopgap where now the Lions can go into the draft, which the position they always want to be in, which is, okay, now that top pick doesn't have to be a guard. If we don't want it to be, it doesn't have to be. If you want it to be, you can. You can make it an offensive lineman. You can take one if you want, but you don't have to because you have your starter on the roster. This is what the Lions want. The Lions have really now filled that last pressing need. You could argue receiver still is, but it's not to the same extent. If the Lions came in to the season with the receivers that they have, not including Josh Reynolds, and they were just, that's the receiving core, if they went into a game like that, you'd be like, we can win with this. We can win with this. So it's still a need, but it's nowhere near where guard was, where it was like, oh, goodness, we don't have a starter. That has to be addressed in the draft. Well, all of a sudden, while it still is going to likely be addressed at some point in the draft, it's no longer the same. You just put a starter in there that, in my opinion, is an upgrade over both Graham Glasgow and Jonah Jackson, especially on the pass protection front. He is much better of a pass protector from what we've seen. Let me give you a number to that. This past season, Kevin Zeitler, on essentially 1,000 snaps, allowed a 3.3% pressure rate. Compare that to a guy like Graham Glasgow. It was over 6%. I believe Jonah Jackson was at 5.5%. So you're essentially cutting that in half with Kevin Zeitler starting on the interior. And again, he has a ton of snaps. So this is not like, well, it's a small sample size, 19 total pressure. He's playing a ton of snaps. As a 2021 street free agent that signed with the Baltimore Ravens, he was massive for this team. He was a cap casualty, and now once again becoming available at 34 years old. The only thing that can scare you off is the age, but it doesn't because it's a one-year deal to me. So guarantee the heck out of that contract if you want. It's a one-year deal. Now, in terms of some of the notes that I have outside of the statistics alone, and I'll just go through kind of what I wrote down because I didn't do a full breakdown of the player, but obviously I did some background knowledge just to get a sense on him so we could talk about guards for free agency. And as you guys know, like I said, if you were in any live streams, you know that this was like, yeah, this is the best option. It's just, I don't know if the Lions are going to do it. A couple of notes that I had. Consistent pass protector, great pad level, strong latching ability, and this can show up both as a run blocker and as a pass protector. Very good at resetting his hands, which happens from consistent base width, twitchy lower body movement as well, and he resets his hands well in pass protection. Like he'll reset his hands, create an anchor, and then just end the play right there. And for a guy like Jared Goff, obviously you want to keep your quarterback from getting pressure. Every quarterback's bad under pressure, but especially from the interior, okay? And again, this is an upgrade over both of our interior offensive linemen this past season. So now you plug this guy in, who's a solid run blocker from what I've seen so far, but as a pass protector, he is one of the best in football. You now put that guy in front of Jared Goff, again, next to a young Penei Sewell, but now he's growing. He's becoming the Penei Sewell that we know and love. And next to Frank Ragnow, oh my, just visioning that is disgusting. Now, let me also throw this aspect out. One of the best aspects with Graham Glasgow next to a guy like Penei Sewell was, man, he's a great athlete that can get into the pads of a defensive lineman, allow Penei Sewell to down block, drive him out of the play. He can pull, get out in space. Well, Kevin Zeitler, who went to the Baltimore Ravens, played in a flexible scheme, which would ask him to pull as an offensive lineman, seal and down block on the backside, but then also be a good zone blocker as well. And one of the big strengths that stands out immediately when you watch Kevin Zeitler is his quickness off the line, which opens up so much zone blocking flexibility as well as his hands to get in your pads. This is an incredible option at guard. The only knocks you created were, okay, well, where does he play next to Graham? Well, if you trust him at left guard, it's perfect there. And then was, okay, well, how long would we do with the contract? Well, 1-year deal. Okay, sign me up. There's literally no knocks here. This is an upgrade at offensive line, I would argue, for this upcoming season. If we would have just bought, if you would have told me we would have brought Jonah back and Graham back, this would have made us better on the interior offensive line. On the flip side, it now allows the Lions flexibility to do what they do, which is, hey, we want flexibility in the draft. Well, that's what. Now you have that. You got a guy in Kevin Zeitler who over the last 3 seasons played 982 snaps at right guard, 955 snaps at right guard. I hope that number is right. My handwriting's a little bit all over the place because I was excited to see this news. And 1,222 snaps at right guard the season before that. This guy consistently is getting snaps. He's not like, oh, I don't know if he's healthy or not. He's going to do his physical. He's an older interior offensive lineman, but you can rely on him. He's a reliable interior offensive lineman. On a 1-year deal, the Lions have done it again. So maybe we were wondering why the Carlton Davis, why the restructure there. You might have just found your answer. Because a guy like Kevin Zeitler is reportedly set to join the Detroit Lions. And my goodness, the Lions are killing free agency, dog. I'm going to leave it here so I can get the news out, but the Lions are killing it, bro. Every top option, they're just making it work. For me personally, top option at guard, they made it work. Top option nose tackle, they made it work. drop the mic on that one. If I could, I would. But this thing, you guys know, for some reason, just wants to unplug all the time, so I'm not going to touch it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.